I was made redundant from my job a few weeks ago, and I'm still really trying to process that and what that actually means and what the future holds. I've always worked for 20 years. I've worked in different businesses. I've moved from business to business a few times, and I made a lot of friends along the way, and I've never gone through a redundancy before. So this is a sort of experience that I went through. So first of all, it was a really quick meeting, one of them ones that comes in your calendar 5 minutes before, and they say, we need to see you immediately. You walk in the room, HR are present, and you go, right, here we go. So what's going to crack off here then? Within 2 weeks, I'd left the business then, and that was just in the last few weeks. I have mentioned it in a couple of YouTube videos actually, in terms of the fact that there was a bit of an update coming in terms of my life circumstances. So thankfully that's all it was. That's all that it has been. Now, one of the first things that I think is really important is that for me, having been invested for 5 years and built up a half decent portfolio, it took all of the stress away from that. There was no financial immediate need to pay the bills sort of stress, and really, that's why, in the first instance that I started investing, I don't hold a lot in an emergency fund. In fact, I don't hold barely anything at all. I've talked about this before. I've got a few quid stowed away, but pretty much the entirety of my wealth is in my stocks and shares ISA, and I've invested it, and I've done so for nearly 5 years now. The hardest part about it is twofold. First of all, is the people that you leave. You do miss the people. Well, if you've made friendships along the way, that is anyway. And the second thing is kind of your identity, trying to work out, well, I've done this very niche specific thing for a whole raft of years, and now I'm not going to be doing it. Now when I wake up on Monday morning, so I'm recording this on Sunday, I don't have anything tomorrow to worry about. I don't have any emails, I don't have a phone, I don't have any contact from anyone. I'm not even allowed to speak to anyone. I'm on gardening leave at the moment, so it means I'm getting paid for the time that I'm off, and I'm actually more than happy with it. Now, financially speaking, like I say, I'll be okay. I've also got this YouTube and the TikTok, which makes a few quid, and there may even be a situation where I think about pushing that and doing that full time. I've really enjoyed my work. It's the problem. The stuff that I do is very specific and beneficial to the world, believe it or not. I'm working a kind of area around sustainability, and it's meant that the work that I've done has actually made a bit of a difference in the world. And I'm not going to go over any of the projects or any of the companies that I've worked for, but that kind of gives you a good sense of worth in terms of what you're delivering for the world. We all want to try and do good stuff, don't we, in the world? And that's over now. Well, for the time being anyway. I haven't even considered what I'm going to do in terms of going back to work or not. I don't even know. It's kind of like you're in limbo. Decisions haven't been made one way or another. And I'm still not entirely sure how I feel about the whole process. Now, I'm, like I say, in a very lucky position to be able to not necessarily have to rush back or worry about things. And I know not everyone will be in that situation. And a lot of people, when they get made redundant, get really screwed over. And they have a terrible time of it. And they causes them all sorts of anxiety and stress. And it hasn't really done that for me. But I haven't really worked out what I'm going to do. At first, it's an incredible shock, and you don't really know how to process it and what you're going to do about it and what it means about your own personal capability, what people perceive of you. All sorts of different emotions go through your mind: sadness, depression, anger, worry, happiness, a lot of happiness. The first thing that happened when I found out as I came home and I took my family out for dinner to celebrate. Because the other thing you have to remember is we all have stressful jobs. We all have deadlines and people that we need to deliver for, customers, whatever it may be, internal stakeholders, emails, phone, and it doesn't stop at the weekend, does it? It goes on and on forever, unless you do a job that does stop at 5 p.m. every day. I certainly didn't do that. There was a lot of travel involved. There was long hours, a lot of driving. I don't really like driving very much, and that's all gone now. So for about 4 weeks now, I've just been trying to work out. I don't even know what I've been trying to work out. And I'm probably in the phase where I'm trying to work out what I'm trying to work out, and I don't know what that is. Like I say, I've been fortunate enough to create this social media sort of setup, which I did in 2021. It took a long time to have any success of that. And it may be, I've been really tinkering with the idea of absolutely bloody going for it, getting regular content out, So when you think about my YouTube, I took 6-7 months off last year. I've got nearly 7,000, well, over 7,000 subscribers now, and yeah, it's gone okay, but it's not gone anywhere near how I wanted it to, not expected it to. But that's because of me, because I haven't had the time to plow into it. I haven't had the time to focus on content, to do really awesome editing, to do all of that sort of stuff, and I do have that now. But I thought that if this did ever happen, it would be the most freeing, liberating thing that ever happened to me. But it hasn't felt like that. I suppose you don't know what you're going to think until you go through something like this. So I started working out of university. I'm 42 years old now, so I've been working over 20 years, and I've never had more than 2 weeks off in my whole career. So I'm already like 4 weeks into this, and I've got so many plans for the house and all that sort of stuff, but I'm not entirely sure, really, what to focus on. It's weird when you wake up in the morning. You don't have daily meetings. You don't need to worry about emails. You just kind of. This is the thing that I don't want to happen, is just drift through the day. I want to really maximize this opportunity one way or another. I may just take a few months off and go back into the corporate world, or I may give this a go. But time will still tell on that. Now, the other thing for me is I had to. One of the main reasons why I started investing is I've got no fallback plan. Right? I've got kids. I've got a family. Both my parents died a long time ago. There's no one I can lean on financially for support. Not that I would want to or expect to, but I've barely been given any sort of money in my life. But paid for my wedding on credit cards. I'm not begrudging any of this sort of stuff. It kind of made me who I am in terms of being able to, one, deal with this sort of stuff, and two, set myself up financially to be able to tolerate going through a redundancy. I think you do have to go through some hard stuff in life to be able to appreciate it and to make yourself a little bit more able to deal with harder stuff. I think when, I don't know why I'm laughing, but when you lose your parents young, and I lost mine young, everything sort of, there's nothing really that you can't deal with. There's nothing that you can't go through and overcome. And when I left university, I didn't have any money whatsoever. I ended up living on my sister's floor. It was one of these terrace houses. So if you know the terrace houses, 2 up, 2 down, it was in the dining room. I slept for 18 months on the floor with barely enough money to eat. I think I got down to about 9 stone. Right, I'm just short of 6 foot, so that's pretty light. So, I've known tough times, and I don't consider this to be a tough time, to be honest. I can get through it, I can deal with it, but I just do feel a little bit in limbo and don't know what to do with myself and how to think about the whole thing. Now, I don't begrudge anyone in terms of the redundancy. I don't begrudge the company, anyone I've worked with. These things happen, and I did speak to someone before I left, and they said that typically everyone goes through this once in their career. If you work in the private industry like I do, I'm not talking about NHS here or anything like that. Those guys are kind of less likely to happen. But I have gone through it now, and I am kind of still feel like I am going through it. I always considered that I would work until I was 50, and that was my goal, to try and retire at 50. But everything just sort of seems to have changed. Now I don't have a regular income now, of course. I'm not going to be able to invest as heavily as I have been. The alternative is obviously to really ramp up the social media side of things, try and make a go of it, try and make a few quid out of it. Whether I can do that or not, I don't know. But anyway, listen, I'm not complaining. I'm just giving you a bit of an update that I said I would do. And if you've never liked a video before or anything, do me a favor and like this one, because I'm probably going to need your support going forward. If you've ever used any of my links before, I really appreciate that. If you haven't and consider start investing, and you do, I really appreciate that. Also, let me know anyone else that's gone through this sort of process before, how you felt about it, how you came out the other end, what you thought about it, and any advice that you might have. But yeah, so there we go. What I'm currently doing is I've fired up the pizza oven. That's absolutely blaring now. I'm out in the garden, got my chickens, my veg patch. There's barely a weed in the garden since this happened to me, to be honest with you. It's all looking pretty good. Oh, it's gone a bit sunny. I'll come out of that. But yeah, anyway, quick update. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching, guys.